With every new teaser, the hype machine kicks into overdrive. We're hearing about dynamic destruction, massive scale warfare, and a grand return to what made this franchise a legend. The next Battlefield, for which we are now calling Battlefield 6, is being sold as the glorious comeback we've all been praying for, the supposed COD killer. But let's pump the brakes there, because we've all heard this song and dance before. The launch of 2042 wasn't just a misstep, it was a historic faceplant. It was the story of a franchise that completely lost its identity, and a community that could only watch in disbelief. For so many of us, it didn't feel like a battlefield. So today we're slicing through the marketing hype. We're going to break this down, every promise, every leak, and every detail, to figure out if this new game is truly learning from the best of the series, or if it's just doomed to repeat the mistakes that almost buried it for good. The big question is painfully simple. Have they actually learned anything? The reputation of the entire franchise is hanging by a thread here. EA and DICE absolutely have to nail this one, and they seem to know it, framing the next Battlefield as a reimagination and a direct answer to years of fan feedback. The gold standard we're all measuring this against, of course, Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 3. A game that had, games that had a notoriously rough launch, especially Battlefield 4. Sure, but it grew into the definition of the modern Battlefield experience. It was packed with tactical depth, amazing sandbox freedom, and a focus on teamwork that recent games have been desperately missing, such as 2042 and Battlefield 5 at the beginning. But Battlefield 5 is looking quite good now. But so does the new Battlefield have what it takes? Let's get into it. Alright, let's start with the elephant in the room, the class system. Bringing specialists into Battlefield 2042 was probably the single most controversial decision in the franchise's history. It completely shredded the game's DNA, swapping out the rock, paper, scissors strategy of assault, engineer, and support. And the recon, for a hero shooter mess that felt totally out of place. It encouraged players to go lone wolf instead of helping their squad and working together, and the community rightfully hated it. It gave the game an identity crisis that it never really shook off. For the Battlefield, next Battlefield, it looks like they've been listening. The developers are bringing back the classic class-based system, which is a huge signal that they're trying to get back to the series' roots. This isn't just about nostalgia, it's about restoring the strategic foundation of the game. Knowing an engineer has the rocket launcher or the support that can drop ammo is a vital key detail for making smart decisions on the fly. It changes how you attack a tank, defend a flag, and rely on your teammates. However, there are whispers they might not be completely rigid about it. It will be interesting to see if they experiment with a hybrid approach, perhaps offering classic locked-in modes, others that allow for more open Call of Duty style loadouts. This could be a smart way to offer player choice, but it's also risky. If they aren't careful, they could dilute the very identity they're trying to so hard to reclaim. The execution here has to be perfect, especially in the core game modes. Otherwise, we could see the game see the old teamwork problems creeping back in there. Next up, let's talk about the one thing that truly makes a Battlefield game stand out: the destruction. From blasting holes in walls back in Bad Company 2, or the mind-blowing levolution effects and the levolution events in Battlefield 4, changing the environment is the series' signature move. Battlefield 2042, however, feels like a massive step backwards because its maps were often criticised for being huge, flat, and weirdly static, with almost no real opportunities for tactical destruction. The new Battlefield seems to be putting the destruction back in the spotlight, where it belongs, of course. Leaks and the developer comments suggest the game will feature the most advanced destruction system we've ever seen, aiming to top the fan favourites of Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 1. Of course, those were both really good games. The promise, of course, is the ability to blow through walls and bring down buildings for a tactical advantage. This isn't just about cool-looking explosions. It's a core part of the strategy. This is a massive differentiator from Call of Duty, which has almost always stuck to the static maps. Of course, like hamster wheels and stuff, basically, because very small maps and yeah. But if DICE can actually deliver this promise, it will bring back that special Battlefield magic, that unscripted chaos, where the map itself becomes a weapon. Imagine fighting in a dense city street only to have a skyscraper come crashing down, completely changing the battlefield for every single player. That's what makes this series special. A return to the dynamic, destructible urban warfare is exactly what the franchise needs to feel fresh and exciting again after the sterile fields of 2042. A shooter is only as good as its maps, and this was another area where Battlefield 2042 failed spectacularly. The jump to 128 players led to maps that were absolutely massive but painfully empty. People complained about it being a running simulator and having to sprint for what felt like miles across an open field with zero cover, making infantry combat a total drag. And the game just didn't have the smart, focused map design of its predecessors. But with the next Battlefield, it looks like we're seeing a major course of correction. Leaks and early reveals point to a renewed focus on urban combat and dense, varied environments that feel a lot more like the fan favourite maps of Battlefield 3 and 4. This is a direct admission of what went wrong. Great map design isn't about size, it's about flow, cover, and creating interesting fights for both sides of the battle, both soldiers and vehicles. Tied directly to this game's overall vibe, 2042 was roasted for its cringy end of round quips and immersion breaking cosmetics. Of course, it was like trying to become a Call of Duty sort of thing, but it created a weird tonal slash that felt completely at odds with its all-out warfare marketing. While its main competitor, Call of Duty, leans into pop culture crossovers and wild skins, the new Battlefield seems to be deliberately moving in the opposite direction, aiming for more grounded, gritty, and serious military feel. This is a smart play. It lets Battlefield carve out its own unique space in the FPS market. It's not only about being a hardcore mil sim, but about being a world that feels believable and consistent. For the thousands of fans who were turned off by the wacky superhero direction, this is a clear sign that the developers finally remember what made the series great, feeling like one soldier in a massive, not a clown, a massive war, not a clown-faced action hero. Now we have to talk business, because this is where the flop potential gets real. EA seems to be thinking. EA seems to be thinking this is, well, the huge next game they're making here, because they're thinking it could be a good game, but there are some wild rumors floating around with, some industry insiders suggesting that the publisher is hoping to attract a massive player base. In fact, EA themselves want the game to get 100 million players. I mean, that would be wild, yeah. But I mean, the rumored strategy here is to get a twofold release, a full-priced premium game alongside a completely separate free-to-play battle royale to challenge Warzone head-on. If true, this is a massive gamble. A killer free-to-play mode could pull in millions of new players, even taking in Warzone players from Call of Duty. But it also creates huge risks. First, can they even pull it off? Can DICE and its studios deliver a polished premium game and a top tier battle royale at the same time? The development of 2042 was notoriously messy. After splitting the team's focus, could be a recipe for another disaster. Second, there is a long-term support. There's a long-term support. One of the Battlefield's biggest weaknesses compared to COD has been its live service and its consistent struggle with cheaters. A free-to-play game lives or dies on consistent updates and effective anti-cheat. If EA isn't ready to commit to the resources to do this right, a battle royale could be dead on arrival, and could even cannibalise resources from the main game, leaving everyone disappointed. The ambition is there, and it's coming at a time when many feel COD is in a creative slump. But EA's track record with Battlefield launches means we could all keep a healthy dose of skepticism. So this is the blueprint for this. This could be the blueprint for a very good game, for Battlefield's next big comeback. But they're saying all the right things, promising to fix all the mistakes of the past and bring back what we loved. But we've been hurt before. The promises made right before 2042's launch sound eerily similar, and failure is still a fresh wound for many of us. On paper, the plan looks solid, but a plan is only as good as its execution. So what's the final call? Is Battlefield destined to kill COD, or is it just another flop in the making? Based on everything we're hearing, this is the most promising position the franchise has been in for a very long time. Bringing back the class system, focusing on next gen destruction, and committing to a grounded tone are all giant leaps in the right direction. It honestly feels like DICE took a checklist of every complaint from 2042 and is systematically trying to fix every single one. They are actively trying to earn our trust back. This game is being positioned as the answer to the series' identity crisis, reclaiming the core ideas that made a game like Battlefield 4 a timeless classic. It's a challenge not just to Call of Duty's sales, but to its entire design, offering a more tactical, team-focused, and chaotic sandbox experience. The hype is definitely real, and polls show that even some of the most hardcore COD players are more excited for this than anything else. However, the shadow of the past is long. Those ambitious player count rumours and rumoured dual release strategy create some major risks. Can they actually stick to the landing on what would be essentially two massive launches? Will the live service be strong enough to compete? And will they finally solve the cheating problem that has sort of plagued the series? Ultimately, the next Battlefield is shaping up to be a fantastic course correction, at least on paper, and all the leaks that I have seen. I mean, if you do have a look on YouTube, you'll probably see some of the leaks and stuff, but I won't show this on my channel. You see, this game has all the right ingredients to be a true return to form, and maybe even the best Battlefield in over a decade. It might not kill Call of Duty as such. That brand is way too big, and I don't think Call of Duty will ever go away, at least not for a long time. But it has a very real shot at reclaiming its throne as the king of the large-scale shooters. And of course, winning back the hearts of millions. The potential for a flop is always there with EA, of course, EA, but for the first time in a while, there's a real reason to be optimistic. These are the signs I'm seeing. But what do you think? Is Battlefield finally about to take back its crown, or are we setting ourselves up for another huge disappointment? Let me know down in the comments, and feel free to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.